everyone had a very nice weekend. My name is Alan Richard. I'm the managing broker at Max One Realty and Realtor Partners, and this is another edition of our weekly real estate backstory, where we pull back the covers and expose the soft underbelly of the real estate world. So we have a lot of things to cover this week, and you'll notice it is just me this week. So my lovely bride and partner, she's not with us, but I'll explain a little bit more about that in just a moment, kind of thing. I did want to kind of start off with what do we have going on training this week coming up. So on Tuesday, we have our accountability session, Tuesday at 10. Then on Thursday's like CE day crazy, because we have 3 classes on Thursday, all at the same time. So you're going to have to pick and choose carefully. So all at 10 o'clock. First one's How to Become Lender Ready and Leverage Business Credit. That's by Teresa McIntosh. Boy, she does a good job with that. Then we also have Show Me the Money and Get Me to Closing. And that's an hour and a half with a closing attorney and an hour and a half with a lender, where they go over all that. And then we also have Advertising, Personal Branding, Online Marketing, and Grec in the Law. So all 3 of those classes are phenomenal. I hope that you can join us for any and all of those, and keep your CE, keep your education going. You know, right now, the education is one of those things that is so vital for us to really be moving forward with, to make sure that we have our business moving forward, because it's one of those where what we're seeing in the marketplace right now is that the folks who are in it to win it, the folks who are out there engaged in real estate, are having their best years ever. And the folks who have been waiting for COVID and waiting for this and waiting for the market and all that kind of stuff, they're the ones who are behind right now. So it's there, get out and get it. So keep your education up, because that's a really big piece for that. So we have, excuse me, I'm all coffee. So we have, this has been just a phenomenal fall for us. Right now, we still continue to have more buyers than we do sellers. It's a really good time to buy. It's a really good time to sell. That continues to drive our market. I'll go into some of those numbers here in a minute, but what that's really kind of created in our marketplace is we're trying to be more competitive with our offers. And one of the issues that we've seen kind of coming up from that is that we have agents who have been trying to play with the right to request repairs amendment for their contracts, as opposed to using the traditional due diligence forms. And so I kind of wanted to discuss that for just a few minutes, because there's some differences, and there's a lot of confusion about right to request repairs. And I'm going to speak specifically today just GAR. I'm not going to go into the RE side of things right now, but just on the Georgia Association of Realtor forms kind of thing. Because the difference between due diligence and right to request repairs really depends on how the buyer and seller really go under contract, and also which forms we use, kind of thing. Due diligence is by far the most common, and that's really the one that uses, or that offers the most protections for our buyers. You know, with a due diligence period, it's your get out of jail free card kind of thing. You know, it used to be called the free look. But it's where, you know, if your buyer for any reason during this time period wants to get out of the contract, they can. The other thing that's very helpful during due diligence is that you're able to negotiate on multiple points of the contract. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. So, you know, on the right to request repairs, if your buyer would like to use and if you're interested in trying it kind of thing, there is a GAR form 273, and property sold with a right to request repairs. And everyone's like, well, what's the difference, Al? Because see, the thing is that with due diligence, that's a giant get out of jail free card. With the right to request repairs, that's all you have to do. But there's also several caveats that go with the right to request, with the right to request repairs amendment, how that works and how it works along. You cannot have due diligence and right to request repairs at the same time. It's an either kind of thing. It's not an and, it's an or. So if you are going to do right to request repairs, there is no due diligence time period, 0. So that's one thing that kind of Now you can have other concessions in there, but depending on what you put in under the amendments, that kind of stuff. But overall, there is no due diligence period with the right to request repairs. But first of all, the biggie here is that you have to, if on the buyer side, you have to make sure that you're following the letter of the law and how you submit that offer. So when you write it up, first of all, it says that the buyer shall have the right for the seller to repair or replace defects in any property identified by the buyer's inspector in a written report. Okay, now in a written report, and so that means that you are going, as a buyer, your buyer is going to have to submit a inspection report on the property. Must submit the inspection report. This is where one of the very first caveats is, because some of our sellers don't want to see a written inspection report. Some of your buyers will say, well, it's my inspection report, I don't want to give it away. Well, then don't use right to request repairs, because you must submit the inspection report with along with the amendment asking for any repairs to be done. So it says within X number of days, buyers will provide the seller a signed amendment to agreement asking the seller to make the listed repairs, and B, a copy of all reports from all professionals and inspectors describing the issue. If the buyer does this within the time frames, then negotiation repairs kind of begins and all that. If they don't submit that within the time period, then they're accepting the contract as is, and their earnest money is in jeopardy at that point. So here's where the challenge is the only negotiation point that you get here is just repairs. So yeah, that we all know that that's kind of the biggie when it comes to the sticklers between in getting that contract to go all the way through. That repairs is always going to be our biggie. Now your seller still has the right to deny repairs, and if they deny those repairs, then the earnest money will go back to the buyer. If the buyer doesn't hit the timeframes or doesn't submit the report, then the earnest money will end up going to the seller at that point. So that's probably one of the biggest issues. There is a little, there's always more details kind of thing, with a, okay, back up. So with the property sold with right to request repairs, in order to remove contingency, you have to use an F722, which is amendment to remove inspection contingency, because that's how you remove that. So again, it has 0 days due diligence. But the biggest challenge is that you've lost on a lot of your negotiation points in a contract, because on any contract, there really is 5 negotiation points. We have price, of course, terms, dates, inclusions and exclusions, and contingencies. Those are the big deals, or the 5 areas where we tend to negotiate contracts in a lot of different ways. And if you've been in the business any time, you'll know that it's not always just price, and it's not always just repairs. Sometimes it is terms, and when you pigeonhole yourself simply into negotiating one piece of the contract, on one hand, it can be very freeing, but the other hand, it's very limiting, because it removes some of those other options that you may have to negotiate during the due diligence period, for example. So if during due diligence, if the seller says that they don't want to make repairs, well, maybe they're still willing to reduce list price, those kind of things. But at this point, you've got a contract. So at that point, you just have to terminate the contract. So there are times to use either one of these forms. Still, due diligence is going to be the one that offers the greatest amount of protections to your clients. But there may be times when this is the right way to go. But it does make you kind of, step back a little bit. When you write up a contract with 0 days due diligence, that's tough. You got to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. You want to make sure that anything else, as far as financing contingencies, that kind of stuff, everything is written up very clearly in the special stipulations. It also has the potential to throw some of your listing agents off, because they're just now starting to see this. We're starting to see this more and more, and it kind of throws up a little bit of a red flag right now for some of our listing agents. As if we continue to see this used more often, this will ease up a little bit. But right now, it's still kind of a new thing. But it's one more tool that agents are trying to use in order to get their contracts, to win win offers right now. Jumping into the news, mortgage rates are continuing to be astronomically low. Freddie Mac mortgage rate last week dropped to 2.88. It's still right at that 2.8, 2.9 range, which is just beyond phenomenal. That doesn't necessarily translate directly to our clients in borrowing rate, but at the end of the day, they're pretty close right now. The 10-year Treasury note, that's what the one that really affects mortgage rates, but right now they're actually pretty close. So the only thing that we really see as a big negative right now is mortgages in forbearance kind of jumped a little bit last week. So we had 6 weeks where mortgages in forbearance have been dropping. This past week that ticked up just a little bit. It's not terrible. But the good part is that the number of people that have forbearance have over 40% equity in their homes. So that is a positive option for us to be able to look at. The September jobs report came out, and it came in at 7.9%, which is still astronomically high. It's not where it was, and so it did drop. Problem was it added about, I think, 650,000 jobs roughly, and it was really we were expected to add even more, but we continue to see that coronavirus is really kind of holding that. Jobless claims are down around 837,000, which is significantly under the million mark, where we were over for, I think, like 9 or 10 weeks. We had over 1 million jobless claims. So that's continuing to slowly move down. But jobs is one of those things that, if people don't have jobs, and that's going to be one of those things that really hurts our overall economy. Right now, the real estate world is really in pretty good shape, because we follow the laws of supply and demand. We have way more demand than we have supply right now. And so that's continuing to really reflect in what we're seeing, which is, that our housing market slowdown that we normally see this time of year, but that ain't happening right now. So contract signings were up 23% over last year. And, right now, for every 10 new listings, there's 9.5 contracts submitted for them within the first week. So we really are in a really remarkable time of year. This makes it kind of a struggle for our buyers for sure, because the amount, normally this is the time of year where we have the best deals. September forever, just about, has been one of those times when September was the best time to buy a home. It was when we had the greatest amount of inventory on there. But the challenge is that for the first time ever, September's days on market was lower than August's days on market. So for September, nationally was 54 days on market. August nationally was 56 days on market. So for the first time ever, our days on market actually went down, which is staggering considering this is a time of year, traditionally school starts, business, it just kind of goes down. That's when you see all the realtors take vacations, do stuff like that. That's not what we're looking at, kind of thing. So it continues to really provide a different environment for us to operate in right now. Right now, our average buyer is paying $20,000 more than they were last year, and they have 25% greater competition than they did last year. And that's different when you put it down in real terms, because right now, property values in the Atlanta MSA are running right at about 9.5% over last year. You figure our median price point, especially here on the south side, is around $250,000. Well, that means that we're spending between $20,000 and $25,000 more for the same house this year versus last year. At the same time, we have 25% more competition. So this is a real environment that we're operating in right now. It's a pretty good time to be a seller for sure. We're definitely in a seller's market. The challenge with sellers right now, though, is, well, what happens when you're a buyer? That's our biggest challenge right now. The number one challenge to listing your home is where you're going to go. Because as a realtor, I can make you homeless in a matter of days. It's not about selling your home. If your home is properly set up, in good condition, and priced right, that sucker's going. It's going to sell. We have a lot of folks out here looking for properties right now, and that continues to be fueled by the mortgage rates. Overall, we just saw a new report from Showing Time, and according to Showing Time, 2019 versus 2020, we are up 51% in actual showings. The number of showings that we've gone on. There was a huge dip in March and April, even, kind of thing, and since then it's been going through the roof to the point to where we are nearly 50% higher, more showings than we had last year. And that to me is staggering when you consider, coronavirus has made a lot of people scared. It's got a lot of people apprehensive. At the same time, showings are up 50%. So do you think folks are interested in housing? Yeah, obviously, kind of thing. The numbers are showing us that all the way through. So, this is our environment that we're working in. We've got to figure out how are we going to continue to move forward. At some point, my concern at the moment is that we're going to outpace wages. No one is earning 10% more on average. The U.S. population is not earning 10% more than they were last year. So, a 10% price growth is not sustainable by any means. So there's going to have to be some kind of a correction, let me rephrase that, because I think correction is a bad term. I don't really see a correction coming. What I do see is that the prices are going to have to flatten. We already see that kind of being forced by the banks and by the appraisers to a certain extent. You can list for just crazy prices right now, but guess what? It's not going to appraise, and they're not going to have enough cash to bring to the table. And so, there are some stopgaps built into appraisal amounts about how much you can be over last year, how much it can be over the overall market rate, and that kind of stuff. So there are some stopgaps built into the systems. And we're going to continue to see more appraisal issues, especially. I don't want that to happen, but that's where we're heading right now. The amount of appraisal issues that we already have is 2 or 3 times higher than what we had last year. And we just know that a 10% growth rate is not sustainable long term. We need to be able we need more listings. So we are looking for more listings. Luckily, our builders are building more houses than they pretty much ever have. We're hitting levels that the builders are building at levels pre 2008 crash kind of thing. So we are still going to start seeing some inventory lighten up on that side of things. It will take them several months to get there. And then as more and more sellers feel comfortable, we'll see more of them moving into the market as well right now. So, one of the biggies who's moving into not just moving into, but one of the driving factors right now in the buying market is millennials. Millennials are moving heavily into the buying segment. They're our largest buying segment. But the average millennial, there was a new study that just came out and said the average millennial does not have enough money to buy their home, enough money saved. Over 50% of millennials say that they've saved up to $10,000. And if you're really going to move into a home, if you need 3.5% down, Plus, you've got to move, you got to turn on utilities, you have to start paying for garbage and water and all these kind of things. 10 grand's a really tough number to hit if you'd like to actually be able to move in and say, eat. So, we definitely need to help our millennials communicate with our millennials, because a lot of them think that that's enough. And I'm not saying it's not a good start, but generally speaking, the more money you got on the front end, the easier life is for you, kind of thing. So we really need to be push savings. The positive is that the overall average American is saving more now than they ever have been. We've changed. There's a lot of buying habits that are really changed, which have hurt some segments. Take hotels and restaurants, for example. The amount of money that's being spent going out to eat, boy, that is really, really dropped. And that's equated in a lot of households into savings. And so that's something big that we need to continue to promote. And if you have millennials that have been saving, let them know, saving more than $10,000 is really where you want to be to kind of get yourself set up. Right now, of all the millennials out shopping for homes, over 20% have up to $30,000 saved up. And that's a really great place to be when they're in there. Some other areas where we need to kind of understand what millennials are expecting. So right now, 43% of the millennials that are in the buying market would like to buy a home in the next 3 months. And that sounds really good. And on the surface, it seems doable. But when you put into effect, when you put the calendar to it, 3 months is if you are going from zero to move in 3 months, that's a really tough sell. They have to get pre-approved. And that's a process that's going to carry them through and help them understand all the payments. And then they need to start the searching process. And we all know that the chances of, getting that first offer submitted is kind of a challenge. Plus you have to work through the whole trust issues and building rapport with your clients and the time that it takes to really get them on board, submitting offers, going through, due diligence, those kind of things. And then, financing contingencies, appraisals, inspections, the whole 9 yards. To be able to move within 3 months can be a very challenging task. Is it doable? It is. Do the cards kind of have to land right for you right now? It sure does. So about 20% of our millennials would like to buy within the next 6 months. I think that's very realistic. But we need to make sure that we're explaining to people what the process is. This also gives us a really good thing that we can be sharing. This is information that we can be sharing on social media, explain to our clients how long it takes, that kind of thing. Of the millennials, the one shift that we've seen in the millennial buyers market was pre-COVID. Millennials were really hot on townhomes and condos. Now 76% are looking for a house. Only 12% are looking for a condo or other kind of thing. So that number has really, really dropped. We're seeing that the millennials are moving much more into the single family dwelling, suburbia kind of thing. On average, our average millennial buyer right now is looking for under 2,000 square foot. And that can be kind of a tough sell, especially if you're looking at new construction, because most of our new construction are just really big boxes at this point. So, but between 1,000 and 2,000 is where our average millennial buyer is looking for. So just kind of understand what we're looking at, or what our clients are looking for, is very important. Being able to find some of those smaller homes that fit within their budget, their price range, and that kind of stuff. Challenges, we all know that anything, in that range are those are tough to find, kind of thing. So right now there was another new study that just came out that 44% of owners are dissatisfied with their homes since the pandemic. And a lot of this is due to the way that we have changed using our homes. Pre-COVID and post-COVID are different worlds. There's still a lot of households where the kids are attending Zoom class every day, and mom and dad are attending or working in the office. And so if you have a husband, a wife, and 2.5 kids all working from inside the house every day, there's going to be, you'd like for things to be a little different. You'd like for your home to be set up. So what we're seeing is there's actually a pretty big, 44% of our current homeowners are dissatisfied with their current setup, with their current home since all this is. So that opens up a really great opportunity for us to be reaching out and like, my favorite question to reach out and ask anyone right now is, are you living in your dream home? Because you already know the answer to that. Like the answer is no. Most of our folks are not living in their dream home, and that's a conversation starter. That opens the door to slide our pinky toe in to have a conversation about real estate, what they like to do, where they like to go, talk about their hopes, dreams, the whole 9 yards. So we're seeing more and more seniors are starting to reemerge in our housing market, which is good, because our senior buyers are also senior sellers, and they've not felt comfortable putting their homes on the market up to now. And so now we see nearly a 17% increase in senior buyers and senior sellers in the last month and a half. And that's a really good uptrend that we need. The majority of their homes are a little bit larger. They're looking for smaller homes, but not drastically smaller homes, because this is one of those things where what they say is not really what they do. The average senior home buyer home seller sells around a 2,500 square foot home, and then they buy around a 2,500 square foot home. So they all say they want to downsize, but the reality is it's whoever dives in the most stuff wins, and we all just have a bunch of stuff, and we don't know where we're going to put all that stuff. So they want to move, they just don't do a lot of it. Commercial real estate, on the other hand, is definitely feeling the pinch. And in the commercial markets, commercial markets has been devalued by about 27% since the beginning of COVID because of shopping and because the way commercial real estate is valued. Commercial real estate is valued a lot of times by your rent rolls and things like that. But the challenge for commercial real estate is that commercial real estate is not bought and sold necessarily and managed the same way that residential real estate is. It's leveraged to a large extent. And based on what that value that they have in one piece of property might be what they can loan or can loan out on other pieces of property. When that loan, when the value of that asset drops, well, now that also drops how much that bank is comfortable loaning out to that business to be able to do other things with. So, the fact that we have about a 27% drop of commercial value along many sectors of real estate. Largely office is feeling the pinch big time, but even retail is feeling it a little bit as well. So not that there's a lot that we can do about that, but I just wanted you to know that commercial real estate really is feeling the pinch. Commercial real estate is different than residential real estate because commercial real estate is driven heavily by the economy and the market, whereas residential real estate is based on supply versus demand. Realtor.com has partnered up with Rocket Mortgage, and so you're going to start seeing a lot more stuff. If for all my realtor friends out there, when you go into Realtor.com, when you access anything, they have jumped in heavily. Realtor.com is now in bed with Rocket Mortgage. Expect to see more and more. Just trying to give you a heads up out there. All right. So I kind of want to wrap up a little bit by kind of going over or kind of where are we now. So this was a kind of a challenging weekend for old Al, our family. My wife's father, he fell and had a very serious, broke his arm, broke his leg kind of thing. And so we had to go up to Indiana to try and help out. So she's still there. Pray for my father-in-law. He's doing better, but still in a lot of pain. That being said, one of the things that happened was we went up there, and so I drove his vehicle back. Now, my father-in-law, he is definitely opinionated when it comes to politics, and that's the case for a lot of our clients and for a lot of us. But I do want to urge caution here because there is the potential for what it can do to your business and the positions that you take with it. And I brought all that up because as I said, my father-in-law, like for me, I'm apolitical. I'm I don't want to offend anybody. I love everybody. I don't take a political position with any of my clients, with any agents, the whole 9 yards. Fiscally, I'm conservative. Socially, I'm liberal. So I'm right down the middle. That being said, my father-in-law, he definitely swings one way. And so I'm driving his truck down from Indiana yesterday, and I look over and I'm getting passed by this cute little old couple next to me, this little old lady, and she just looks at me up through the passenger side window and she just gives me the bird. So I kind of see that going on across the board. And since I had this long time to talk, I'm speaking to agents on the way, and one of our agents lost a client. And it basically came out that well, if you support the Cheeto in chief, well then I just can't trust you. And then I'm looking on social media later on, and I see that there's another agent that lost a client because they supported Biden. And Biden, they're like, if that's the kind of judgment you have, I just can't do business with you. These are, and so in just a matter of a couple of days, here's agents that have lost listings and clients over their political positions. And so if you choose to be political, it's your business. You can do what you want to with it. But see, this whole cancel culture is kind of, everyone blames it on the young folks, but it's really everywhere. Either you believe the way I want you to believe, or you're dead to me kind of thing. This is really dangerous for us, because it's not that people will say something. No one's going to give you an opportunity to have a conversation. They're just going to turn you off. They're going to unfriend you. They're going to unlike you. And for us, where our entire business, well, not entire, but the majority of our business is built on relationships. 80% of the average realtor's business comes from people they know and that know them. So relationships with us really, really matter. And if your political position is just going to make people turn you off, unfriend you, unlike you, not speak to you, or totally lose touch with you over that, you have to evaluate, is this what I want to do with either social media? Do I want to take a political stance? Again, this is your business. You can operate your business how you choose. I just find that every time the election cycle comes, we have agents that lose business because they completely endorse a political party. And if that's your choice, God love you, it's okay. Just don't complain when you lose business from it, because I'm just here to tell you that this is the reality that we live in. Half the country is conservative, the other half is liberal. There's a very small piece that rides down the middle, but about 40% conservative, 40% liberal, a little bit in the middle. And do you really want to make half of your potential clients mad? Because the challenge is that they're not going to tell you. They're not going to let you know that they disagree with you. They're not going to have a conversation. They're just going to unplug from you. And then you're going to wonder, why did I lose that? Why didn't I get, I mean, it's one thing when we actually know why we lost the business, but it's another when you have to kind of wonder how many people are just going to turn us off. So again, I'm going to encourage you to vote. I'm going to encourage you to get out there and promote voting. But I am also going to encourage you to try and stay as politically neutral as you can. If you are trying to use things such as social media and that kind of stuff for business, you have to look at everybody sees what's out there. And if you endorse one political candidate, you are going to have the potential to impact your business. So I just kind of want to throw that out there. Again, I'm not trying to stop the whole. It's not that I don't want you to be political, but I do want you to be wise about what's going on out there and understand that, we got 29 more days of crazy. The news is always going to be extremely polarizing with everything. It's very easy to get wrapped up in the whole 9 yards. Please just protect yourselves, protect your companies, protect your business. And I want you, and that's the biggest thing. So I hope this was helpful today. If I can be of any service, please let me know. Smoke signals, call, text, whatever, we answer it all. And I hope that you guys have a really great and productive week. Thank you.